Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his Sunday guest, Mr. Dan Bird. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. So we're going to talk about something that I don't remember researching. I'm sure we talked about it when I was getting my MBA, but I do not remember them. This using credit spreads to make some money. So what is a credit spread? What is it? How do you do it? What's going on?
All right. So let me share. I'm going to kind of pick up where I left off in the last session.
Okay.
For those who may not have watched it, I encourage you to go back and watch it. We left off here talking about an example of selling a put. So when you sell a put, you actually make money. You put it in your account immediately. In this example with NVIDIA, we sold the put back here. We had $7,850 deposited into our account right away. And if this expired worthless, which it did in this case, because a put means you want it to go up, and we're setting a floor by selling this put. In this case, we sold the $200 one over here. So we're setting a floor of $200, and as long as it stays above that, all the way to expiration, we keep this whole $7,850. All right.
Okay.
So that's selling a put. So that's the first leg, if you will, or the first part of a credit spread.
Okay.
So a bull put credit spread is an option strategy where you believe that the underlying stock is going to go up. It involves purchasing an out of the money put, like we did with NVIDIA. We purchased the $200 one, which is out of the money because it's below the price, and selling an in the money put option. So think about that for a second. What we did right here is we sold an out of the money, selling an in the put option. So what we're basically doing is we are selling this one, and we are buying one that's even further down.
Got it.
We're buying a put. So remember, when you buy a put, you're counting on it going down. And what that does is it protects the downside for you, because you could have an unlimited risk if you just sold the put.
Yeah.
Now we're selling the put. Now let's say the next day NVIDIA came out and said that they're going out of business for whatever reason, and the stock goes to zero.
Yeah.
Well, you're still obligated to buy this stock at $200.
Right.
Even though it's gone to zero.
So basically the idea is you're controlling. So in this example, your cost basis would be 192 because you collected the option premium of 7,850. So
Correct.
you might, in this example, so you're selling a put. So you would buy a put, say, I'm just going to make something up at 180.
Correct.
So that way
That's
you've controlled your maximum risk, in this case, of $12.15.
That's exactly right. It's defined risk.
Okay.
So you're defining the risk right up front.
Okay.
And it's the difference between the spreads. That's why it's called a spread.
Right.
So in your example, 180.
Yeah.
So it's $20 minus the premium.
Yeah, that's true, because there would be a premium when I have to pay for the.
No, you're not paying the premium. You're receiving the premium.
Well, you receive the premium in the one on the 200, but don't I have to buy? Aren't I buying the 180s?
Yes, you do have to buy the other one. So
but that would be a lot cheaper, right? So it
would be cheaper. So the difference between the two is actually a credit.
Correct.
So
yeah,
it's actually money that you would make.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why it's called a credit spread. So let me break down this.
I get it now. Here. I get it. Okay.
So a bull put means you're selling a put.
Yep, I got it.
Remember here?
Yep.
We're selling the put because we believe it's going up. Right?
Got
it. That's why we sold the put.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's called a bull put, because we're selling the put. Credit means we're having money deposited into our account.
Got it.
We're not having to pay anything. If you were paying something out, it would be called a debit spread.
Got it.
But a credit spread means you are receiving money. And the spread means that you have two options with different strike prices.
That makes sense. Okay.
That's the spread. So in your example, the spread is 20, the difference between the 200 and the 180.
Correct. I got it.
The spread. Okay.
And then and then the credit is the difference between the premiums.
Difference between the premiums.
Correct. The one that you get and the one that you pay. Got it.
Right. Right down here. Max gain equals the net premiums received. The max loss is the strike price of the short put minus the strike price of the long put. In your example, that was 20.
Yep.
Minus the premiums received.
Yeah. So let's say the delta was $5, right? You get 8, you spend 3, the delta's 5. So 20 minus, so in this case, it'd be $15.
Correct.
Times 100.
Your defined risk would be $15.
Times 100 because of each contract.
That's exactly right.
Woohoo! I get it.
That's the beauty of credit spreads.
Okay.
Is that you are defining the risk up front.
I got it. Yeah, that makes
Now,
sense.
because of that, two things are to your advantage when that happens. Number one, your brokers will allow you to do it. In fact, they'll let you do it in IRAs.
Oh, wow.
Because you're defining the risk right up front. And you have to buy both of these options at the same time, but you can group them together. I'll actually show you my platform and how easy it is.
Okay.
It's a lot easier than you think. It's kind of hard to get your mind around at first, but once you start doing it a couple of times, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
All right. So number one, your brokers will let you do it. Number two, if it expires worthless, you don't pay any commissions. Right. So there's a lot of good advantages to doing this. So I like to use SPX. SPX is the S&P index, and you can buy and sell options on the S&P index. Credit spread has defined risk. We just talked about that. So you could even do it in your IRA. Because of the defined risk, the margin requirements are much lower. So if you were selling the put, like I talked about back here, right? You're selling the put without any kind of protection. If this dropped below 200, you would have to buy that stock for 200. So that means you would have to have 200 times 1,000 if we're doing 10. You'd have to have $200,000 margin in your account to do this, what's called a naked put, right? But because we define the risk by putting that lower boundary on it, the margin requirements are much lower. So it's easier to do this in a small account, is what I'm saying. And you can actually grow small accounts by using credit spreads.
Okay. All
right. So I usually stick with the S&P. This whole section here on the slide comes directly out of my newsletter for this weekend.
Yep.
So for those that get it, you can actually read through this. I like the S&P. SPX is what I typically use. Sometimes I'll do it on high growth stocks like Tesla or Amazon. It allows you to do very high price stocks without having to buy the individual stocks. A lot of people say, well, I can't buy an Amazon. I can't buy a Tesla. It's $1,000 a share. But the credit spreads aren't that expensive. So you could definitely do a credit spread and take advantage of it. SPX options expire 3 times a week. So you can use this on a daily basis. I'm going to show you an example of how I did this last Friday.
Okay.
So I've typically done a credit spread up or down. So you can go either way. You can do a bull put credit spread if you think it's going up, or you can do a bear call credit spread if you think it's going down.
Okay.
It's just the opposite. So so bull put, remember, you think it's going up. A bear call means you buy it above the price. So in this case with NVIDIA, we did a bull put. So we sold the put below the price. If you think it's going down, then you want to sell a call above the price. In other words, a price that you don't think that the stock is actually going to get to. Follow that?
Yeah, of course.
So it's the opposite of the bull put.
Okay.
All right. So SPX you can do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Since they expire, the idea is to choose a strike price that is well out of the money so that it is unlikely the underlying security will reach that price. And therefore, it will expire worthless, and you get to keep all the premium. Okay. The other reason is that SPX is settled in cash. So the example of NVIDIA, I said if you sell that put and it goes below 200, then you are obligated to buy the stock, right? Because the option is on a security, it's on a stock. But with an index option, there is no stock. There's nothing to buy. So index options settle in cash. which means whatever the difference is, you have to pay the cash.
I didn't
If you
know
have a
that.
loss, you've got to take the cash and actually pay it.
Okay.
But in this case, you're defining your losses, right? In
Mhm.
your example, it's $15 per share.
Yep.
So it's already defined. So you would just settle in cash rather than actually taking stock.
Okay.
So when you trade options on a stock, it expires in the money. You either have to take ownership of the stock or you have to sell shares of the stock if you're selling calls. All right.
Mhm.
Index options, SPX, OEX, NDX, since they settle in cash, part of the gain is considered long-term by the IRS.
I did not know
60% of the
that.
trade is long-term capital gains and 40% is short-term capital gains, regardless how long you hold it. In my examples above, only 1 day.
Interesting. I had no idea. Okay.
So there's also a tax advantage of doing the index options rather than stock options.
Interesting.
And that's why I do SPX.
Okay. I
In
did
fact,
not know that.
I almost only do I will sometimes do some stocks. I'll do a credit spread on stocks, which you can certainly do it that way. But I
Okay.
usually will only do SPX. All right. So here's an example of the trade I did on Friday. And this also is a good example of why technical analysis is so important. All right. So SPX, this is the chart of the S&P. This is a 4-day chart. It's a 5-minute chart. So each of these bars represents 5 minutes. All right.
Okay. Yep.
Remember, SPX has options on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Mhm.
Okay. So this day right here is Wednesday. I actually did a bear call spread on Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about that one this time, but it's important to understand that even though I said before that calls you want to do when the stock is going up and bear calls you want to do when the stock is going down, you want to put something on the top of it.
Mhm.
I did a bear call even though the market was going up. But what I did was I made the expiration way up here at 43.10. Look at where it ended. Actually ended at 42.99 something. That was the high of the day. All right, so I bought this bear call credit spread. I actually did it the day before because the market was going down. But I set my limit high enough that I didn't think the market would get there the next day. And it didn't. This expired worthless. I made a little over $2,000 in this trade just by letting it expire worthless.
Okay.
Now the next day on Thursday, I knew Friday was the next options. So Thursday I was watching the market and I watched it going up here at the end of the day. And I thought, oh, it looks like a bullish market. I'm going to do a bull put credit spread, what I just talked about, right? So I did it right here just before the end of the day. And here's the trade. Here's my opening trade. I sold 10 41.60s. So remember the first one, the selling of the put is the floor that you want. The point where you do not think it will go lower than that. Okay. All right. I did it at 41.60. This is where this blue line is down here. And you'll notice, you can see why I did it there. Using technical analysis, that's support. All right. So 41.60 is support. Even though it might come down, I didn't think it would get that low. So that's where I sold. And I bought the ones below that at 4,100. So 60-point difference.
Got it.
The premium that I received when I did this, now remember, this is on Thursday afternoon, about probably 15 minutes before the market closed. I received 38.69 by selling this put. I had to pay 890 by buying this put.
Yep.
So my net premium was 29.79.
Okay.
All right, that goes directly into my account. If I had let this expire on Friday, I would have kept that whole 29.79.
Okay.
I didn't let it expire, and I'll explain why, but I could have because it never made it to 41.60. So it very easily could have expired, and I would have kept this whole thing in 1 day, almost $3,000 in 1 day. Now I could have done 20 contracts instead of 10, and then I would have made 6,000 in 1 day. Or I could have done 100 and then I would have made 29,000 one day,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So this is what I did. This is an actual trade. So I'm watching the market, and I can see that it's making lower highs,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Made a lower high, a lower high, a lower high. So right here, I thought the market's going down. I think we're going to probably end negative today. So I closed my position right here.
Makes sense.
Now, remember what I said about time decay and how fast time decay happens at the very end?
Mhm.
So even though I bought it here for almost 3,000, the time decay that happened so quickly when I sold it here, to exit this, it only required $370.
Wow, that's quick.
All right, so this is my actual gain, 2609 on this one-day trade. So I made 2,000 here
Mhm.
on Wednesday. I actually did it on Monday and made about 2,500 on Monday, 2,000 on Wednesday, and I made 2,600 on Friday.
Nice.
All right.
Mhm.
Even though I was doing a bull put credit spread, which implies that you think it's going up, I set my limits low enough that I didn't think it would actually reach it, even if it did go down.
Mm.
Right.
Mhm.
Which it didn't. So I could have held on and just exited, but I decided not to get greedy, just exit right here.
Yeah, makes sense.
So this is an actual trade. It's the actual trade right here. This is actually directly from my account. So these are the actual numbers. You can see the dates, 310, 311.
I like it.
All right, so that's what a credit spread is. You can do it either way. You can do it going up, you can do it going down. You can do it Monday, you can do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or you could do it, a month out. You could do it a week out.
Right.
I have one on right now that's a weekly that expires next Friday. That'll be worth about 9,000 if it expires worthless. And
Nice.
that one is a call, a bear call, which means I'm hoping the market keeps going down.
Okay.
But my bear call is at 4,400.
Very cool.
So here's that head and shoulders again.
Mm-hmm.
So remember 4,300 I said was support, now resistance.
Yep.
So my bear call I have set all the way, the market would have to come all the way up to 4,400.
Got it.
For that not to make money.
Okay.
And anything below 4,400 on Friday,
You win.
I win all of it.
Right.
The whole premium. I won't give any of it back.
Yep.
All right. So one last thing is I'm going to show you. This is my E-Trade account. This is the NVIDIA example that I showed before.
Yep.
And I'll show you how easy it is. So in that case, I said $200. So there's the put, selling the put, 785. That's how I would do it. I just click on that. Down here it says I'm going to get a credit of $8,000. It actually sets a midpoint, so it's going to execute somewhere in between the 785 and the 820.
Okay.
You can see those down here. So it's telling me an estimate. It's not exact, but it's an estimate of what my credit would be, 8,000, which is great as long as it goes up. If it goes down, if it goes to zero, I could lose, an unlimited amount. I would lose a lot more than that 8,000. All right. So in order to protect myself, I would do a credit spread instead. And 200 is the first one. So I want to do one below it. And you use the example of 180, right?
Right. Yep.
So let's try that, see what it tells. So in this case, I'm buying the 180.
Oh, I got
right?
you.
I'm selling the 200. I'm buying the 180. And now it shows me my credit is 4,270. So if this expires worthless, and in this case, the date is April, so I'd have to wait till April in this particular case, it would expire worthless.
Got it.
I could do the March instead, or any of those.
Yeah.
So if we look at SPX is the one that I like to do. This shows you both the calls and the puts. All the way down here. 43. That's where we are right here,
Mhm.
4,200.
Yep.
So it's the same thing.
Cool.
If I wanted to sell calls instead, calls are on the left-hand side.
Mhm.
Wanted to sell calls for 4,400,
Yeah.
which is up here. So I sell these
Yep.
and I buy, I think I bought the 4450s. Bought these, so 3650 in this
Gotcha.
case.
Very cool.
And this is March 22nd. So that's how easy it is
Mhm.
to execute. And once you execute this, then it goes in as one trade. It actually tells you right here what it's called. It's called a vertical limit trade.
Nice.
And it shows you the credit.
Again, folks, on this channel, we're mainly a real estate channel. I'm speaking to Dan every Sunday so I can learn a new skill. He has brought us something here with credit spreads I have never researched. So I would definitely need a lot of homework before I place these on. This is not advice to do this. It's just interesting to learn about new stuff.
Does it make sense? So,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely.
good.
And then
So I talked about these in my newsletter this week. I
Yep.
talked about both of the ones that I did. I did the put and the call, and made money on both. So
Nice.
it's a great way to generate income every week.
Yeah.
If you know what you're doing, and technical analysis is critically important
Yeah, very
to
cool.
understand where to put those.
Yeah. Folks, you need to be following Dan. You need to reach out to breakpointtrading@gmail.com to get his new newsletters. Worst case, you get some humor every week and you get to laugh. You get 2 or 3 cartoons that are hilarious. So Dan, thank you very much for doing all this and congrats on your winning trades.
All right, you bet.
Thanks,
Have a
buddy.
good weekend.
Mhm.
Take care. All right, what do you think?